Welcome to another Student Zone session at Microsoft Build. My name is Salman and I'm a Microsoft Learn Student Ambassador and an intern here at Microsoft. I'm super excited to be here with all of you and I hope that you enjoyed Dimitri's session that was all about bringing art and technology together. If you've joined the prior Student Zone sessions, then you've had an intro to the right tools and a couple of languages. Since Dimitri just showed you a super neat use case for Python, Jasmine is now going to teach you how to build your own bot using C#. Before we bring Jasmine in, I'd like to remind you all about the Microsoft Digital Code of Conduct in the chat, so please make sure that you read it and please be kind to everyone. With all of that said, I'm super excited to introduce you to Jasmine. Hey Jasmine, how are you?
Hi, I'm great. How are you?
Yeah, I'm doing amazing. Hey Jasmine, can you just give a quick introduction about who you are?
Yeah, sure. So I am Jasmine Greenaway. I am a cloud advocate here at Microsoft. I've been at Microsoft for about over 3.5 years. I'm based in New York City. So I'm super happy to be back to talk more about bots. My background is a lot of C# and JavaScript. So I'm just really pumped and excited to talk to you all about what I have for y'all today.
Wow, that sounds super amazing. I actually remember your build session last year, and that was also on bots, but it was with JavaScript.
Yes.
There's loads of different tools here. Which one are we covering today?
Yeah, so we're going to be talking about the bot framework composer, and we're also, and I know this title also focuses on C#, so we're going to see a little bit of a trick here on how to generate a bot, C# bot with the bot framework composer.
Wow.
So yeah, so what we'll do is we'll kind of talk a little bit about what bots are, then we'll see the bot framework composer and bots in action, just do a little Q&A, and then we'll end it there. Well, how's that sound to you, Salman?
Wow. I'm super excited. I'm speechless. I can't wait to see everything that everyone's going to be learning today. And as Jasmine mentioned, we're going to be having a Q&A session, so it's going to be interactive. So don't forget, any questions you have, those will be handled later on in the session. So enjoy and take it away, Jasmine. Thank you.
Thank you. Awesome. So let's get started. So first, we're going to talk about what exactly is a bot. So at its core, a bot is an application. An application is usually written in some kind of language and some kind of code that gets interpreted into binary, ones and zeros. That those instructions get sent to the computer to output some sort of task. So either that is either creating an alarm, setting up an alarm, or even asking a question. So think about like your devices, either Siri, Cortana, all these devices that you can talk to and ask a question, or even getting analytics and insights. So maybe maybe you are taking the temperature in the room, or maybe I don't know, maybe you're asking your refrigerator how cold your ice cream is, things like that. So a bot can really be in anything that is like any sort of device or computer that takes those instructions and gives you some kind of output to get something done. So before we talk a little bit more in detail about bots, I want to just rewind a little bit back in time and talk about the history of bots. So, I've been, using the internet for a while. I've been, developing for a while, and I've seen kind of this evolution here. And the one of the evolutions that I've seen today is this protection from malicious bots or bad bots. So, bots have a little bit of a reputation of being scammy and scary and things like that. But we have technology. We have the technology to make sure that this is not the case for us anymore. So what you're seeing here is the reCAPTCHA graphic here that focuses on bots that are able to create spoofy or spammy accounts. So you've probably seen this around whenever you've signed up for something, or maybe you've seen something like this when you've like accidentally signed in too many times with the wrong information. This is just some extra protection from those malicious bots, just assurance to make sure that you are not a bot. So another bot that you all probably have seen is Clippy. I remember enjoying Clippy, you know, at Microsoft Word. So this is like a few older versions of Microsoft Word where Clippy was essentially this bot that would ask you specific questions around your document. So in this example here, what we're looking at is Clippy asking if you want to save the changes you made to document 1, the document that you're currently working on. So, you know, in the past, you know, when you would create a document in Microsoft Word, you'd have to manually save that document yourself. And so Clippy was there to say, hey, I see you haven't saved in a while. I don't want to lose your work. Would you like to save? So, you know, taking that task of making sure and keeping you on your toes and making sure that you are building either the essay or document that you want and not lose any of your work. So the last one is Smarter Child. So AOL, this platform called America Online, had this instant messenger called, I think it's called AIM, AOL Instant Messenger, yeah. And so what AIM has is this bot called Smarter Child, and this is a text-based bot where you can kind of ask it all kinds of questions. So this person here is asking, do you sleep? And Smarter Child saying, no, but I dream, so on and so forth. So what's really cool about Smarter Child is that you could continually have these same conversations. So bots have been around for quite a while. And so yeah, so like again, so you know, Clippy was for bots that was a bot that was for specific tasks. Smarter Child was more about questioning and conversational bots and things like that. But let's talk a little bit more in detail what bots can do for us. Now, imagine, you know, this was your room and, you know, your parent says, what is going on in here? This is not my room, by the way. So what if, you know, this person asked, you know, your parent or your guardian asked, okay, you need to clean the room. This is a mess. And you're not a cleaner. You're not really a cleaner. You're like, I do not want to do this. I wish I had a robot to do this for me. And a robot would come in and say, I love cleaning because that's what we programmed it to do. So think about the Roomba robot that, you know, can kind of clean up the floor. It can't clean up all this, but it can, you know, it can sweep and, you know, vacuum for you. Imagine having a bot that could be able to do this for you. So again, bots are helpful. Bots are helpful, especially when you program them in the way that's going to serve your needs. Now let's talk specifically about chatbot. That same concept exists with chatbots, but what you have to do is ask them. So in this diagram here, we have somebody sending a message. We don't know what they're sending, but we're going to assume that they're sending to somebody on the other end asking for help. And so they might say something along the lines of, how may I help you? And at the end of the day, that person might not even know it's a bot or a robot. And usually they can be quite helpful based on what you ask them. Now let's break down the parts of a chatbot. So I like to split up into two separate pieces here. First is this knowledge base. The knowledge base, you can call that what the tasks that you have programmed your bot or added to your bot. So this necessarily doesn't have to be code, but this can be things like text, like what would the bot say if you asked a specific question? What would the bot say if, you know, how would the bot greet you? So that would all lie inside of the knowledge base. Now, sometimes the other part of the bot is going to be some code. And we're going to see, like I said before, the bot framework composer is a low code solution to creating a chatbot. So bots not always necessarily have code in them, but they can. Now let's take that robot diagram and just replace it with an actual bot interface, which will essentially look like a text message or a group chat. So again, with that concept of the knowledge base, what kind of things that you want the bot to say, what the kind of things you want the bot to respond to, and as well as its code base sometimes. So on the left here, we have this person asking if the package just arrived. And so in this bot's knowledge base, they're like, okay, this person has a package that they want to know, and they have in their knowledge base, they've noticed that they actually have two packages. So it asks, like, is the one that you sent yesterday or on Monday? And so this person says Monday, and they're able to go back into their knowledge base and provide that information. So now we're going to talk a little bit how bots communicate with us. So scientists, as well as AI engineers and machine learning engineers, they use it. They build bots or are able to help us create bot technology with this term called natural language processing. Now, what that is that it allows us to communicate with computers so that we can understand each other better and get what we need. So as you saw in the beginning, when Salman and I greeted each other, he asked me, hello, how are you? And I said, I'm good, amazing, how are you? So, that's the common type of conversation you would expect, when somebody is greeting you. So what an engineer would do, they would use natural language processing to be able to recreate that same conversation between a machine or a device and a person. So now let's look at this in another context here. So again, natural language processing can be a great application for any kind of language. So here we're looking at it in Spanish. Sorry, please don't get on me about my Spanish is not 100%. So sorry if my Spanish is a little off. But again, the topic means, or what we're really focused on is the context of the conversation. So someone's asking, hello, how are you? And that person would respond, I'm great, or I'm bad, how are you? And again, mimicking or simulating that same conversation between a device and a person. It doesn't matter what language, what really matters is the context or what you're talking about in the conversation. So some keywords are going to be quite important here, especially when you get down to things that when you're trying to get things done. So what natural language processing allows devices and machines to do is to be able to extract important pieces of the information that you need for things that you need to get done and be able to interpret that and get what you need to get done. So on the left side here, this person is asking, I need help with order 1, 2, 3. And this other person would say, okay, give me a moment while I look at ordering 1, 2, 3. Now on the right side here, again, having an engineer really come and simulate that same conversation and to be able to have a machine or a computer or a device be able to get that order for you. So let's think about some keywords here. So I know from this sentence here, thanks to NLP or natural language processing, that this person needs help with an order and they need help with a specific order 1, 2, 3. So that device has enough information to look up a specific order. So on that note, we're going to just get right into it and look at a chatbot in action. I'm sure you all have been waiting for this point. So now let's take a look at this. So the first thing we're going to do is look at the bot framework composer. So I'm going to open that up here. And what the bot framework composer is, it's a really great low-code solution for you to be able to, build your bot with a nice UI interface. Now, this title says that we will be building bots in C#. Now, when you create a new bot in Bot Framework Composer, this is actually a new feature and really excited to see, is that when you build a new bot, you can actually decide if you want it to be created in C# or JavaScript. So you get to use this UI to build the bot, and then the output will be in C# or JavaScript based on what you select. In this demo, it's built in C#. So let me talk a little bit about what this bot does. So what this bot does is it will ask you a few questions. It'll ask you one question if you want to learn more about space. And then it will and then it will show you a picture from the NASA's Astronomy Picture of the Day API. That shows just what what I said it does. It shows you a random picture from space of the day. So now let me just walk you a little bit through what's going on in the composer here. So on the left side here are my dialogues, and you can essentially, a dialogue is a piece of the conversation, a functional part of the conversation. So here I only have one main dialogue, and in this dialogue I have a greeting, or also known as a trigger or an event. And what that allows me to do is, what allows my bot to do is allow it to respond to an action, to some specific action. And the action here is when I enter the chat. So when Jasmine has entered the chat, the bot will greet me and send me a prompt. A prompt is just a question, or a prompt, you could essentially call it a piece of text that you will expect somebody to answer to. And so here is my prompt here, and it says, "Welcome to SpaceyBot. Are you ready to learn about space?" And then in here is where I get the user input. And then if any of you are programmers out there, or either new to programming or have or interesting, we have this branch. So if and else. So if the person says yes, then we will send a request to the NASA API to get that astronomy picture. And if no, we'll say, okay, restart if you're ready. And then at the end here, we have something called a hero card, which is just a fancy way to display some information from a bot. And that's the end of the bot. So now, what I really enjoy about the Bot Framework Composer is you can actually start your bot and debug your bot, not debug your bot, but test your bot right inside the composer. So here we go. And now it's running. I see that it's running here. So I have the option to either open it in the web chat, which will open it inside of the Bot Framework Composer, or test in the bot emulator. Now we're going to see the emulator in a second here. So let's just open the web chat here. So I'm going to restart my conversation here. And here we go. So I have entered the chat. And here it is asking for that prompt. "Welcome to SpaceyBot. Are you ready to learn about space?" And I'm going to say yes. And then I get an image here. Here I have a bright spiral galaxy. That's really neat. And if I restart this conversation here, I can start from the beginning, say yes, and I get another image. And if I say no, I check that out real quickly. And it says, okay, restart when you're ready. Great, awesome. So this was in the composer. Now let's see this in the code. So I'm going to open up my code in VS Code. And as you can see here, this is the output of my SpaceyBot. So there's, all kinds of stuff in here. And, like as you can see, this is C#. I'm not going to really get into it. But what I want to show you is that I'm going to run this same application, or the same bot. And I'm going to run it in .NET, and notice this little this endpoint here. That is where the bot is running. So at this localhost and this port number. So what I'm going to do now is open this in the Bot Framework emulator. So I'm going to open the bot, and I actually already have the bot URL saved here. And this is the endpoint that you would use to be able to interact with the bot. It's always going to be the bot URL at whatever localhost or wherever it might be hosted /API/messages. And when I'm testing the bot, I really don't have to fill out anything else. So now I'm going to click connect. Okay, and so here we're having that same conversation inside of the emulator. So as you saw before in the composer, I had the option to be able to run it in the emulator. And what it would do is it actually open the emulator for you and start this conversation from there. So now I'm going to just click yes. And here we go. So again, here is that another different image with also the description shown in a hero card. So as we see, it's the same conversation here that we had inside the composer. And we saw that the composer outputs this code in C#, or optionally you could also do it in JavaScript, and you're able to actually build that same conversation in code with, and also test it in the emulator. So yeah, so again, this would be really great if you are interested in building a bot. You want to start with a composer, and then maybe you want to add a few tweaks in code. This would be a great option for you if you want to take it a little further with code. So yeah, so that's it for the demo. And I hope that was fun. I hope we learned a lot about space, and there will be some more information about how you can check out this demo yourself.
Wow, that was so awesome, Jasmine. Thank you so much for sharing. And yeah, your session, which I was alluding to before, which was on JavaScript and, creating bots with that, it's definitely possible as well, like you mentioned, to be able to use both the bot framework composer with both .NET and JavaScript, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so the bot, so last year when I did my demo in JavaScript, I was using the bot framework SDK. And the bot framework composer is actually built on the SDK. And that's why we're able to output the bot into C# or into JavaScript. And so what I really enjoy about the bot framework composer is that, I actually it was just a really great experience for me to be able to just drag the things that I want to do into this UI interface and have a graphical view of how I want my conversation to go. And that was really helpful and really great for me to be able to conceptualize what my bot was going to do, what my bot was going to say. And I love having this flexibility to be able to continue building with the SDK. Because one thing that, especially if you are like new to code, or maybe you don't even, or you're maybe like me who is like, wants to just build fast. I really enjoyed the experience that the bot composer was able to give to me. So now you have two options. You can either, get started in the composer, or you can get started in the SDK. It's really up to you.
Wow, there's so many options. Developers today must be like super happy. And I guess that brings me to my next question, and that's like, when you started, I know you began with .NET and C# a long time ago. How does, the expectations, I guess, of being a developer with C#, expecting to say, hey, I'm gonna learn game development in your example, and now being able to do so many things with C#, what's that like?
It wasn't that long ago. I'm just kidding. It was a while ago. So I guess so I just really enjoy this evolution of just being able to build. I just never honestly realized like what my experience in C#, where my experience in .NET and C# would take me. And I just find it just so fascinating that we have, like a platform like, just Azure and everything that Microsoft has to be able to build things like this. And what I also really love about, this SDK is that it has flexibility. I think that, not only can you build in .NET, you can also build in Python. And from what I understand, I think you can build in Java now, as well as JavaScript. And so what I have enjoyed is being able to take what I've learned about C# and apply it to other languages. But knowing that I always have this, my home-based language, it's really nice to be able to, and it's really nice to be able to to kind of take that experience and put it into something like a chatbot, or put it into something like some automation, or whatever that might be.
Wow, incredible. And I completely agree. For me, I would kind of say I'm perhaps a bit biased, but yeah, I love C# as well. I started with VB.NET, and it's amazing the things you can do with just one language, right? And
Yeah.
we've got another question, and it's actually, you know, with this tool, right? We're using the bot framework composer, and it's great. We can test the tool using, you know, the web testing and in the console. But can we put a web front end? Is there any other ways we can also serve this to users?
Yeah, absolutely. So what I showed in this demo was locally on my machine. And that's what one of my favorite things about the bot framework in general is just being able to work locally before you deploy it. So now there's many options for how you want to, actually get this bot out in the wild, we'll just say. So you can either deploy to Azure, and actually the bot framework composer can actually help you with this. There is an option for you to publish your bot to Azure. And so you would, you sign up your Azure account, set up, a few things, and you're ready to go. You can also deploy this through VS Code, through Visual Studio, through the command line. It's really, really up to you. And so I would highly just recommend that first build your bot locally, build it the way that you want to see it show up, and then go ahead and deploy it to Azure or whatever platform you prefer. So now this could be a web interface. You could implement your bot into your chat client, so Teams, or whatever, Skype, whatever chat client you prefer. I mean, the options are just quite vast. So I would definitely check that out if that is of interest to you in the docs.
Wow. And just to comment again on this whole idea of, hey, this is really simple and easy to use. It's, no code, and we can take the code. Another offering that we also have is the QAMaker, right? Would you like to just touch upon that and perhaps tell us a bit more?
Ooh, so this actually is a bot, or part of the bot I have not worked with, believe it or not. And that's okay, because that is an opportunity for me to learn. So Salman, I'm gonna throw this question back at you. Can you tell us a little bit about the QAMaker?
Yeah, definitely. So the QAMaker, and funny story here is that last year I actually watched Jasmine's talk, and all the concepts she's talking about here, I ended up taking those concepts away and teaching that to multiple people on some talks as well. And I was instead doing a twist on it. I was showing the QAMaker, and basically the QAMaker enables you to have a document full of question and answers, or a website, say, for example, the Microsoft website for careers, it has Q&A. You can take that website, put it in the QAMaker, and it basically makes a bot for you. You don't have to worry about the dragging boxes and things. So that's another example of, hey, if you have no experience coding, that's okay. If you're even scared of taking that first step to using UI to create logic, hey, just have an Excel document, have a Word document, a PDF, a website which has Q&A answers already there, and you've got a .NET bot there as well. You can have it export and have the Node.js runtime too if you want. Pretty much, yeah, and similar to what Jasmine has been mentioning, it's still using the .NET SDK. We're using other toolings as well, such as Lewis. And actually, that brings me to another question, which is, what exactly is Lewis, Jasmine? Are you able to just give us a quick, brief summary on that for anyone in the audience here?
Sure, absolutely. And thank you so much for helping me out there, Salman. I really appreciate it.
No worries.
Lewis stands for language understanding. And this takes that topic of NLP, or natural language processing, and lets us dive deep into that, that functionality with Lewis. And what Lewis allows you to do is allows you to fine tune the conversation that you want to have or the context. So when somebody says something about maybe taking that same demo we looked at and someone asks, hey, I want to learn more about galaxies. Maybe your bot would maybe provide a random fact about galaxies or maybe show you a picture of different galaxies. It's really up to you. But when we were talking about NLP, we're thinking about, and bots, we're thinking about those keywords. And Lewis allows you to take those keywords and really build context and, a conversation around what that keyword was.
Wow, that is a very beautiful way of putting it. Thank you so much. We've got another question here from our amazing audience, so keep the questions coming. And that's, what's the difference between the Bot Framework Composer, which is UI based, and also the Power Virtual Agents app in Microsoft Teams?
Ooh, that's a really great question. So the Bot Framework Composer and the Power Virtual Agents, it's really based on, kind of what you want to do. So if you're looking for, I've never worked with Power Virtual Agents, but I'm assuming that it's, you have this kind of same UI setup. And this is bots for, for a very specific context. So, so when I think of Power Virtual Agent, I'm also thinking of things like Power Apps and Power Automate, and how that really can help you with your productivity in the workplace, specifically when you're working with Office 365 apps. So say you want a bot that is specifically around maybe some documents that you're working with, or either presentations that you're working with, you might want to go down the route of Power Virtual Agents, because you could probably build a bots from scratch, use the Microsoft Graph API to be able to create the bot of your imagination. But what Power Virtual Agents allows you to do is to create your bots without having to take without having to get all those APIs and get all those extra things that you need for your workload. It's all kind of there for you. That context of working within your documents and stuff like that is already there. The functionality is already there.
Wow. Great answer yet again, Jasmine. Thank you. We've got more questions. Sorry to say, but we love them. We love them. Keep them coming. And one question you've kind of answered already, but can we utilize this Bot Framework Composer or these different toolings with Discord?
Ooh, yes, I would assume so. I would say that it would probably take two steps there. There's something I've been really thinking about is just like bots in Discord, because Discord is so much, I'm a gamer, so Discord has been really fun for me. So what I would imagine is that you would have to utilize the Discord API and be able to use the bot framework, either Composer or the SDK, to be able to link those two together. So in one of my bot demos, I do a HTTP request. Actually, in this bot demo, I do it as well, where you are sending some kind of information or asking for some kind of information for a remote server somewhere. So and that's what APIs allow you to do, right? They allow you to communicate or ask for something from a server somewhere else. So in the experience with a Discord server, I would assume that you would use their API to be able to communicate with, your chat or, whichever Discord server that you're on, and use that API in conjunction or, with the bot framework, either SDK or Composer, to be able to kind of have the experience you want. So yeah, I believe so. I've never tried it myself, but if you do, please let me know.
Yeah, I think that's exactly, you've hit the nail on the head, because I've used the Discord bot API before, and as you've mentioned, it's just, bringing in another SDK to be able to access it. So yeah, definitely I think Jasmine's hit the nail on the head there with being able to integrate, and that ties nicely with another question, which Jasmine's already covered pretty much here, but is it possible to create different components, say in the bot framework composer, and export those into SDK code things?
Absolutely. So what I really love, so Sam and I were actually talking about this earlier this morning, that the bot framework composer changed a little bit. Builds coming out, so we have new versions of things coming out. And the bot framework composer now, when you open it up in version 2.0, it asks you what runtime that you want to use. And so, what they've built, this functionality that they've built is for you to be able to use whatever that you have in your composer, whatever you built, and be able to output that into the language of your choice. Now, we didn't really talk about things like Lewis in depth and things like that, but you also have the ability to add Lewis functionality to your bot. So to answer your question, in general, yes, whatever you do in the composer will now be able to be generated in real time in code in C# or JavaScript for you.
Wow, brilliant. It's everything's just so much nicer than it used to be back in the day. I wish we had this tooling a long time ago. So yeah, another question we have is, with the bot framework composer and the bot SDK, all these things, are we able to integrate voice commands, say with speech services on Azure as well?
Yes, you can. And the bot SDK, and I believe I'm sure the bot framework composer has this too, where instead of going through the textual route of a chatbot, because remember, a chatbot doesn't only have to be text, it could be voice. It essentially could be voice. And you could essentially use it to do voice commands for your bots as well. That's absolutely a thing. And then also, again, you can integrate AI, what do you call them? Cortana and things like that, these specific skills for a bot that you can, continue to add to be able to have a conversational tasks done, or, a conversation with voice with your bot. So the answer is yes, you can use voice.
Awesome. Yeah, and I'm thinking, whenever, say if I'm having a conversation, this was a nice example I think NHS had given a long time ago, and we had discussed this before as well after, I watched your talk last year, and the whole idea of, hey, if you have a bot as a front end, or if you have a bot for someone to be able to talk to, no one can really get angry at a bot, because the angrier you get, it's just going to give you the same response. But with a human, there's a bit more emotional intelligence needed there.
Mm-hmm.
How do you think this will affect the world, especially in a situation like we're in now?
Well, I think we already kind of see that. So, okay. So have you ever been on like the phone and you're talking to, kind of like a robot or automated message, and they're not hearing you properly, and you keep on saying the same thing over and over? Sometimes, we can get a little frustrated and get a little mad, and we talk in the phone, and the phone's like, okay, well, we can see you're clearly upset. Let's take you to, an operator and see if they can help you. So, again, that topic of, natural language processing. So maybe they didn't really see the tone in your voice, but they saw that they couldn't understand you, as the conversation went on. And so maybe it didn't capture your frustration, but it captured that it's not understanding you. So it takes you to operator. You could have that same kind of situation with a bot, where maybe it's filtering out curse words, or maybe it notices that you're saying you're a little frustrated, and it's like, okay, I think it's time to hand this off to somebody who can really help you with what you need. Because at the end of the day, we're devs, And the more code we write, the more bugs that can show up. So it makes sense to be able to add functionality when someone's getting frustrated with this experience that we're having, to be able to give this option for either, getting more help or getting them in front of somebody that can help you specifically, and, eventually come back and fix the bot later.
Great. I can see already a whole lot of different possible scenarios we can use this in. I think perhaps we're getting onto some cool ideas. Perhaps people bringing in the Face API as well to read emotions. Yeah, possibilities are endless. One final question we've actually got from Leah is the bot framework composer free?
Yes, it's free, and you're able to actually install it. I believe I'm using it on Windows, and I believe you're able to actually use it on Mac as well. But you can also build, with these tools. I believe they're both cross-platform, the composer as well as the emulator. So yes.
Awesome, thank you. And you can check out all of these resources on GitHub. But thank you so much, Jasmine. One final question, where can everyone find you?
Sure. Well, so you can find me on Twitter. My handle is Paladik. You can also find me on GitHub. I have a few, one other repo on bots and some other cool Azure stuff that I'm working on. So please say hello. Tell me what you're working on.
Great. Thank you. Thank you so much, Jasmine, for this amazing session. I've definitely learned a lot and enjoyed conversating with you today, having this great interaction. And I hope everyone else in the audience did too. So make sure to check out the resources for this session, which will be on the slides, and also an intro to, well, the resources will be an intro to the bot framework on Microsoft Learn, also a sample bot framework project on GitHub, and then entire resources for the session will be available on the Student Zone, our GitHub repository with links to all of the sessions, speakers, and resources, our Microsoft Learn collection to continue scaling, the Student Zone sessions on the build site, and just a couple of reminders as well before we wrap up. Don't forget to fill out the survey for the session. You can find a link to the evaluation at the bottom of the session page by using the My Evaluation link on the build site. And second, make sure that you go and check out the Cloud Skill Challenges. There's one specifically designed as an intro to developer skills, Dev Mixtape Volume 11. Sign up through the link on the Learning Zone page and be entered for a chance to meet our product leaders. Next up in the Student Zone is a session on how to become a software developer, and that starts about 3 hours from now. And after that, well, you're not going to want to miss this interview with astronaut Stanley G. Love, who will make a talk about his journey from coding and how he made it to space. So thank you for joining all of us here. Don't forget to check out Jasmine on Twitter and all of her resources on the Student Zone, and we will see you back here later on. Bye-bye.